Okay, we're live. Hello there, everybody. As you can tell, we're having one or two technical issues. Still can't hear you. Well, this is. See, we can hear Mark. He can't hear us. I don't know who's. I think he's got the better end of the deal of this one, quite frankly. Yeah, he's having some technical issues. Joined us. However, on the live chat. Hello, live chatters. Welcome along. See if we can kill that so I'm not getting any kind of reverb or anything. Okay. Alyssa's going to be joining us very shortly indeed. She's just signing in as well. Basically, it's just fun and games. It really is. Who else we got in here? Michael P. Hello, good morning, everyone from Colorado Springs. Dan Berry, isn't his middle name technical issues? No, it's Flappy Thighs. But thank you very much indeed for suggesting that it's technical issues. It's Leonard Flappy Thighs Sultana. That's my middle name. We also have Super Catchick. Good afternoon from snowy and 17 degrees Fahrenheit, Kansas City. Yeah, it's well, it's centigrated here in the UK, and it's going down to 1 or 2 here in this neck of the woods, and then it's going to be heading to -7 in other parts of the UK. It's going to be very cold. Another reason why I've also been slightly delayed is the boiler has decided to not ignite here in this particular building, so I'm going to be freezing slightly. But hey, that just sums up my week. Caroline Donegan, good afternoon from Montreal. Hello there, Caroline. Welcome along. Super Catchick, talking to Michael P about Altered Carbon. Has anybody watched it yet? I have not gotten the chance. I've been a little bit tied up this week, unfortunately. I'm a bit behind on everything. But he did, sorry, she did get to see 19 films and 18 shorts. So I think she's done rather well. Scott C, good morning from Cali. Sam Payne, hello Sam, how are you doing? Why have you joined us? Anyway. Is there anybody on? Is there anybody on the show that appeals? It's not me. So maybe she's here for Alyssa. So who knows? Leanne. Leanne.
It's my rousing Super Bowl food issue. You know
what it is? Yes.
Yes.
I did see that tweet, and I also wondered if that was a promise that you would bring up Super Bowl food, or a threat. I wasn't too sure which one it was. So
a threat, totally and utterly.
Listen,
so we need suggestions from everybody on things to talk about. Otherwise, I will bring up food because that's my go-to topic for the day. As Leonard, grimaces.
Well, I've got 1 or 2 things that we can talk about, and we've got our script as well. And Mark's going to try and join us, hopefully with again. With slightly better technical things going on. But it's 6 minutes past. Let's dive straight in. Hi, my name's Leonard Sultana. This is Talkin Comic-Con, a cup of tea with an Englishman in San Diego. My name's Leonard, as I've just said. Yes, it's going to be one of those. It's going to be one of them. We are looking at 26 weeks to San Diego Comic-Con. Plenty of things to get ready and geared up for. Obviously we're not going to be too heavy on stuff today because everyone wants to be light and everyone wants to be in a good proper mood because of course it's Super Bowl, so we want to kind of try and keep everybody in a light-hearted kind of fashion. So I don't think we'll be talking too much about the game as such, but all we will say is go sports team. I hope your ball team bunch do well in the super thing.
I will be going over commercials a little bit later.
Yeah, I was gonna get into that as well. So we'll kind of combine on that one. Cool. Okay. So we're going to be getting into some bits and pieces, especially when it comes to films, about the current landscape of movies, about how Comic-Con very much has embraced Hollywood as part of its celebration of pop culture, but how that celebration could change from 2018 onwards in the current climate and landscape of Hollywood. We're going to get into that. We're going to get into Oscars, and for that we need an expert. We need someone who actually knows his films. We need Mark Searby, man. We need Mark Searby. Is Mark Searby here?
He's on next week, isn't he?
Yes, he is. The good news is, however, we've got Mark Searby's stunt double. So he's going to be talking about driving cars at 40 miles an hour down a dust road and not crashing them into a tree like Uma Thurman did.
Oh,
yes. That was painful to watch. I'm certain, Mark, you've got a couple of opinions, because I've gone from having Quentin Tarantino be one of my all-time favorite filmmakers to somebody I want to punch rather hard in the face within a space of about 2 weeks. It's really gone I've flipped almost instantly. What's been your take on the last 24 hours?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I kind of agree with you on that one, Leonard. That for years and years he was lauded as, not an auteur, but very close to it. He's a guy who makes films for filmgoers. And then all of a sudden, obviously, these revelations start coming out, and you think, yeah, this is not ending well at all. But also, we've got to remember that actually he never spoke out against Harvey Weinstein. Even, when this all started, he never came out and said anything. I think it was a case of there was something where he said he will, give his thoughts at some point. So we never heard from him on that. So now that this is happening, it doesn't surprise me. It kind of sounds like two peas in a pod almost.
Yeah, the element that kind of got me as well is the business of there was a number of people that talk about the whole director as dictator element to it, in that it is the last bastion for somebody to literally grab a bunch of people by the scruff of the neck and lead them on a path. I mean, there's Ridley Scott's famous quote: "There's only one director. There's only one person steering the bus, and therefore they have that power." But then you have to think to yourself: is it actually worth having someone have that kind of power for a film, when you have people like Taika Waititi and you have people like James Gunn, who create an Eva, whose escapes me as a surname, who creates good atmospheres on set to create something as a piece of entertainment. To have someone be that ruthless on set, I think, is no longer required. It's from a different era, perhaps, would you say?
Yeah, absolutely. But the names that you mentioned there, Ava DuVernay was the name you were looking for. The names you're talking about there are only synonymous with over the past few years, because obviously they've hit big with superhero films. So as you said, it is a case of, it is a previous era, and that era lasted for the best part of maybe 100 years in films. It's only just changed, and it's going to take a long while for a lot of people to accept it in Hollywood, whereas most of us here, we're happy to accept it. We want to see more diversity in films. We want to see, people like Ava DuVernay taking on these things and being given, these big budget things. So going from a very small film to a very big film very quickly. But why shouldn't they? If they've got the talent to do it, then why shouldn't they? I
think the only person I know that is creating drama films, I mean, admittedly, the people that we are talking about are covering more lighter subjects, superhero films, genre films, etc. Then you have people like Christopher Nolan, who's creating stuff like Dunkirk, and he isn't being all dictatorial about it. He's not jumping on people's throats and generally forcing them into ridiculous circumstances to create the pieces of work that he's done. So
it's the same with Duncan Jones. Obviously, he's we all know who Duncan Jones is, but he has slowly brought himself up. Moon was a tremendous piece, so was Source Code. Warcraft, whether you liked it or not, I have to say I didn't like it. At least he went for it. He was given that big budget, and he went for it, and he made a film. And now what's happening is, he's got Mute coming out later this month,
looking forward to,
which looks fantastic. It absolutely looks fantastic. But there is this new breed of directors, like what we saw in the 70s with Coppola and Lucas and Spielberg. All of a sudden, we're getting this new breed of directors for a brand new era in filmmaking.
Yeah. What's your take on it, Alyssa?
think there may be a slight bit of confusion. Obviously, we're all pro diversity, pro anti-sexual harassment, all of those kinds of things. But I think that we need to remember that creatives create how they create. There are creatives who are dictatorial assholes. They are. It's not, and you have to kind of separate them from being, racist, sexist, all of the isms, into they're just being assholes, and that's how they create. And it's the end product that will dictate whether or not they get jobs. Now, should somebody be an asshole to one particular group of people? No, absolutely not. But I think that we need to separate the whole diversity issues with whether or not somebody is a jerk. If they're a jerk, they're always going to be a jerk, regardless, who it is and how they create. So it goes into that, what makes a good creator and what makes an innovator. So I think that while I agree with what you guys are saying, I think that there is a little bit of wiggle room here for those higher level superstars. How they got to be superstars and being a jerk, I don't know. That's because you can't do smaller films and be a jerk.
I think this is where you and I are going to have to go off on different paths on this one, because I personally, I think it's like myself and Mark were discussing. We've got people who are becoming more high profile that are proving themselves to be incredibly proficient filmmakers without having to be arseholes. And I think it's time to weed them out. I think that's the reason why this weekend has been the most interesting out of all of the discussions, because it really has separated film fans down. You look at film Twitter and film social media, instead of it being very much a black and white issue. If someone has been anti-diversity, or if someone has really kind of gone in a way which is very clearly in the wrong, in terms of harassment, in terms of an attack on somebody's sexuality, or or even just threatening their careers off the back of their own political activities. This is Quentin Tarantino has not attacked anybody. He's just been an arse in the way that he's made his films. And it's now coming to light that how much of that. So at the end of the day, it's like Aaron Neighbours is saying, you can be nice and you can be a top creative.
Yeah.
So. Oh no, absolutely, and those nice people should absolutely be the people that you prefer to work with, and that keep getting the jobs. I'm simply saying that there is a class of creatives out there who are jerks, but they are very innovative. And
so basically it's the old story of Stanley Kubrick on the set of The Shining, that he says to Jack Nicholson, be as mean as you like to Shelley Duvall, because that will help your character. And Shelley Duvall is left crying in a corner because she is just getting no support, at which point you just go, okay, it's made a piece of work like The Shining, but is it really worth it?
Yeah. It's a tough. Well, there is no right or wrong answer. This is the problem. There really isn't. It's always going to be like this. I think Alyssa's right. There's always going to be arseholes out there. They're always going to get stuff made. But if that breeds something that is Oscar worthy or is billions of dollar worthy, how do you sum that up? Well, how does the film studio sum that up? Okay, he's a complete wanker, but he's made us $10 billion. Do we continue to work with somebody who's made us that?
Which is exactly how Harvey Weinstein maintained his career for 3 decades.
Yeah,
because he was making Miramax. He was making the companies all this money. At which point you just go, okay, we didn't see anything.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Anyway, whatever. Right.
Well, it's all. A lot of it is word of mouth too. I mean, you know, if you notice that a director keeps getting the same actresses, they keep wanting to work with him. Then that that person is a nice guy.
Yeah.
You know, that they created a good environment. And so yeah. That's it. Go ahead, Leonard.
No. Just looking through the Q&A. Welcome along, everybody. Thank you very much, Nii, for jumping in. And indeed, a bunch of people are indeed weighing in. This is what it's all about. It's your show. Please do keep your comments coming in. Leanne D, I could tell you a horror story about Quentin Tarantino, but I signed an NDA. It's a story that would make your hair stand on end. I'm sure it would. I'm absolutely certain it would. Aaron Neighbour seems like the old world of directors is like the old world of chefs. Gordon Ramsay and the people he learned under Marco Pierre White, for example, were tough sons of bitches. However, you can be nice and a top creative. It's just like a lot of today's top chef. Andrew Nick Dickinson, there's the Harry Potter films. There was a piece which likens to Star Wars. Seems the prequels are going against the originals. Okay, I think we're on to something else now. We're just jumping around conversations, but then again, trying to keep up with Andrew Dickinson. He's all over the place because he's got his focus. No, his focus is fantastic. He goes all over. It's great. Yeah, please do jump in with any comments, any thoughts that you have. I mean, I think. Ridley Scott's the name I keep coming back to because he's one that has in the past created an atmosphere on a set, which would then effectively translate onto what he's putting onto screen. But in recent years, it's more a case of, no, I'll just hire the actors that will do the job for me. They don't have to. I don't have to torment them to get them to a certain place.
Well, do you know what? That's actually a good point, Leonard. And that could actually lead us into talking about the Oscars. And it also lends it to what Alyssa was saying about directors continually choosing the same actors. At the moment, we have Phantom Thread in cinemas, directed by Paul Thomas Anderson. And obviously, it's Daniel Day-Lewis's last film. Daniel Day-Lewis continues to work with Paul Anderson. And Paul Anderson continues to work with Daniel Day-Lewis because they know what they get from each other. They know what they get in. Paul Thomas Anderson is not a director who rants and raves. He just gives the issues. He just gives the direction, and that's it. And you have somebody like Daniel Day-Lewis who will take that direction and spend 6 months thinking about a line that Paul Thomas Anderson told him. He doesn't need to be shouted at because he's done it wrong. He knows instantly, okay, I'm going to play it this way. And then if Paul Thomas Anderson doesn't like it, he'll probably just give me a little clue here and there. But, you know, these directors who are now coming through are all ones that just give these little tips here and there. You know, Leonard, you were talking earlier about Christopher Nolan doesn't shout and swear. No, because he knows how to connect directly with his actors. And that's why he continues to work with the same people. You know, Tom Hardy's always in there. Michael Caine is his good luck charm, basically. And he knows how to talk to these people. It's the same with, you know, this is Super Bowl weekend. The reason why some of these teams get to the Super Bowl final is because they're coaches know how to talk to their players. They don't need to shout and swear at them. They know these fine lines. Listen, you've got the ability to make these fine lines, and these fine lines win you accolades and win you awards, whether it is on the football field or whether it is at the Oscars. And that's what it's all about. It's not nice, but it is pointing out these little moments that you just need to tweak it slightly.
Okay, well, let's kind of segue then into the Oscars, like you suggested, because it's one thing that you wanted to come on to talk about, and you wanted to come on and talk about this last week when the Oscars were nominated, but we got all foodie on you, which was fine. Thank you very much indeed to everybody who submitted a recipe, and congratulations to everybody who won on our award show last week. I know, have those prizes gone out, Alyssa?
No, they haven't.
Okay. Fair enough. I can hardly say anything about getting stuff mailed out to people, so I'll say nothing there. But I will say, yeah, congratulations, because they absolutely deserved all the attention. But Mark, we had the Oscar nominations. You were talking very much about when we've been speaking before and leading up to this episode, about how some films were neglected, how some films weren't. Last week we were talking about Wonder Woman being snubbed, and yes, there was Alyssa that is absolutely believing that it has been neglected deliberately, that there is this kind of anti-genre film element within the Academy Award, and then we look at stuff like Lord of the Rings, which did particularly well in the Academy Awards. Was that the one? Is that the free pass? Yeah, the Academy can turn around and say, "Well, we gave it to the Lord of the Rings. we like genre films. Give stuff to Moonlight and La La Land, and yeah."
How long ago was that, though? I mean, come on, we deserve another pass, at least in this decade. We've got to. I mean, it's ridiculous. Now, the reason I wanted to come on was talk about not the Oscars, but who has been nominated, because we have some directors in there who have previously worked in the nerd geek genre, probably still working there as well. You know, Christopher Nolan's in there as well, and obviously Guillermo del Toro. And I kind of find it fascinating that all of a sudden we have these directors who have cut their teeth on comic book stuff and have made their name from these big films. You know, Christopher Nolan with the Dark Knight trilogy, and then Guillermo del Toro with Hellboy. And now all of a sudden they're up for Oscars. These are people who we saw at Comic-Con, and they have moved themselves over into
mainstream.
Mainstream's the wrong word, I think. Upper class filmmaking. I don't know what the word is to, when you're an Oscar contender, I guess. But I do find it interesting, the move from, hey, look, he's one of our guys, to being an Oscar contender. Is he still one of our guys? I think both of those two are. Certainly Guillermo del Toro is. I mean, every time he turns up at Comic-Con, people have to tell him to stop swearing. I mean, that man, for me, deserves every Oscar going. And The Shape of Water is a phenomenal piece. But, the same with Christopher Nolan. At the heart of it, he is a nerd and a geek, which is somebody who obsesses about things, obsesses down to the minute detail. And he does that with his films. You watch Interstellar, and he had all of these different people come in and tell him about wormholes and about all of, space and exploration and stuff like that. The same with Dunkirk. He had people who were at Dunkirk come in and basically tell him what it was like there. And when he was filming it, no, this is not how it was. You need to up the ante. And that's why I'm thinking these guys are still nerds. These guys are still geeks. And that's why it makes me smile when they get nominated for Oscars, because I think, yeah, good for you guys. Good for you. And I don't know if we're going to see that a lot. That's the thing. There are other films on there, films which I really like. Get Out, which we'll come to in a minute. I know Alyssa's got opinions on Get Out. But the Post as well, it's Spielberg, he's in there as well. Darkest Hours in there as well, Call Me by Your Name. These are all great films. 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. It's a great film. But at the same time, I'm like, the Nolan, Del Toro, they feel like our guys. I'm sort of rooting for them a little bit more, I've got to say. But then at the same time, just coming back to Get Out, for that to be in Best Picture, I think that is what you were talking about earlier, Leonard, was, is this a pass year where Get Out is in there and it is our Two Towers? I don't think it is. I think it deserves to be in there. It just makes me smile that a feature film debut from a comedian has got a nomination for Best Picture. That's what makes me smile. I love it. But as Alyssa said, and she's told me many times, it's not a comedy.
No, it's not. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, no, that was what I was told on our Christmas Eve show. if for people who were actually watching that show. So, because I had not seen it at that point, nor have I seen any of the films that are nominated. Shape of Water is not even in my small town theater because of that odd release schedule that they had. So I haven't been able to see that one yet. So,
maybe soon then. Maybe sooner. So we haven't even got it here in the UK. It's another 2 weeks here. We're the last country to get it, which kind of boggles the mind a little bit, I have to say, considering that 2 of the actors in it, the 2 main actors, are from the UK. Which kind of boggles the mind. But, look, we don't know what the strategies are.
Plus, it's always it also goes to the Academy or the film releasing companies and distributors who are releasing these films only for the Academy to vote on. And then then they get the buzz, and then it gets released to everybody else, which is an ass backwards way of doing things, in my opinion.
No, I agree. I mean, it is kind of the same. What you're saying there is kind of the same release schedule we had with Dunkirk. Dunkirk came out in the summer. It wasn't awards eligible because it was outside of the season. So very cleverly, what Warner's did when they turned around and went, actually, I think we've got an awards winner here, is put it back in cinemas in December. All of a sudden, hey, it's qualified, and they only put it back in there for 2 weeks, I think it was, maybe less.
Yeah.
So yes, it is all strategy, but as you said, they have got it backwards with quite a few bits, I've got to say.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you've been following the release date of Ant-Man and the Wasp. This is where Mark giggles because he knows exactly where I'm going with this. Yes, Ant-Man and the Wasp will be coming out on the 6th of July in the States. Here in the UK, we're getting it just over 5 weeks later, in the middle of August. The reason? They don't want to release it against the World Cup. Because, of course, every nerd is every comic book fan is up for football. I don't know, but
it's almost as if you can't have two things in your life at once. Sorry, you're either watching the World Cup or you're going to see the film for 2 hours. 2 hours. You know, it boggles the mind. But this, you know, I mean, well, this is another debate we could have on another show entirely. But that type of release schedule opens up a window for piracy.
Yes.
Complete piracy.
Always has done.
Yeah, exactly. But just we'll stay away from that.
Dan Berry, Ant-Man and the Wasp, revenge for all the releases that are first in the UK.
Do you know what? He's got a valid point. He has got a valid point. Yeah, no, that's fine.
Okay, so the what I wanted to kind of bring it on to in terms of the conversation that we were having is the current landscape of films and Hollywood here in the UK, and the fact that in the current landscape, we are getting more strong drama, horror. Not the window seems to be sort of like shrinking, or the spotlight seems to be shrinking on superhero and genre films, and people seem to be more in tune with more dramatic fare, like The Post, like Get Out, like The Shape of Water. What does that do then to events like San Diego Comic-Con, which effectively thrives on the genre movies? It's embraced Hollywood. It's embraced that element of it. I know there's a lot of people that criticize Comic-Con for the amount of Hollywood that it attracts, but at the end of the day, it's part of the package now. It's something we have to accept. So do we start seeing more dramatic films being showcased at Comic-Con? And will the 10th anniversary of Marvel Studios be the only celebration of genre films that we see at Comic-Con? Considering that I haven't heard of much of WB's output. I think it's just Aquaman.
Yeah, it is.
So what are they? So what the hell? It's Aquaman and Fantastic Beasts 2. That's what they're going to do for 3 hours or 2 hours?
Probably. We don't know. But it is a good question. Maybe I'll let Alyssa go on first on this one, actually.
I am hoping, to be honest with you, that we do get a lot more of the niche dramas. I would love more Arrivals, Interstellar, Martian. To my mind, those were pivotal movies, as opposed to Avengers 3 or 2 or whatever it's on now. While I enjoy the superhero movies, absolutely. I mean, we all do. I still haven't seen, it's almost not enough to get me to the theaters these days. But
Yeah.
So
Corgi Commander, is it confirmed that they are even coming? I'm guessing we're talking about WB because yes, it is. It's WB that he's talking about there because Marvel is effectively confirmed. That's going to be the big thing. End of Saturday, they're going to be doing the 10th anniversary of Marvel Studios. As simple as that. It's going to be the big celebration. They're going to probably roll out lots of stuff when it comes to Captain Marvel because that'll have been shooting for 5 months at that point.
For example, I think the thing that got me into Hall H last year was Blade Runner 49, and that was not, yes, it was, in a WB film or an earlier in the day film, but it wasn't. It certainly wasn't enough to pull me into Hall H. I think a lot of people that I'm talking to and are saying no to Hall H next year on Saturday. I don't think that there's one person who's among my group of friends who said, yes, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned Blade Runner there, Alyssa. That was the only thing that I wanted to see on the Saturday, and obviously it was first thing. And you kind of, I was like, forget it. I'm just going to go down and do the offsite. But going back to seeing these genre films like drama and thrillers, I would love it. In amongst all of the fun stuff, and in amongst some, you want something that is real. Sometimes, I mean, me and Leonard, even though we didn't know it at the time, were in the same room when Christopher Nolan came with Interstellar, and McConaughey was there as well. The room was about just over half full or something like that.
Excuse me, keep going. Try a third.
Yeah, and it's like, hello, this is Christopher Nolan bringing, his next incredible film. He's not made a bad film, and yet there's not many people there. But is that because they kept it quiet? But most possibly. But at the same time, it was in there. There was Open Road, who are a film distributor. I think they came in 2015, and they did that film with Bill Murray, where it's based on a true story of him being a journalist going off into the desert to speak with in Afghanistan or something like that. It was quite a cool film, but Bill Murray turned up. So this is the thing. All of a sudden, it was these smaller ones that made me prick up my ears. So like Open Road, it just said Open Road on their film studio. So if we get something like A24 this year, keep your eye open for them, because they're a big film studio doing really interesting things. They're probably going to bring somebody really interesting. It's not going to be your Marvel people. It might be somebody else. I can't remember what it was, 4 or 5 years ago when The Rock turned up and ran through the crowd and whatever else. It's things like that. Hercules, thank you. Yes, where he throws a horse. Yes. But, it's little bits like that all of a sudden you think, why am I spending 48 hours on the pavement to go and see Marvel, who I see most years? Okay, great. We get some exclusive footage, when I could be turning up to 7 panels where Steven Spielberg might be on it, just as these other directors who you love from earlier films, but all of a sudden they've made something that is slightly out of the ordinary for maybe mainstream, but for others it's not. Alyssa was talking there that the films you were mentioning, all science fiction films, that's perfect fit for Comic-Con. It really is. They go hand in hand. So yeah, for me, it's finding these other ones now. It really is. Most of the footage we see in Marvel ends up online anyway.
Yeah. One of the things that I really enjoyed from New York Comic-Con last year was the amount of smaller panels with names on them, but that were quirky, smaller, quirky stuff, not the big ones. And I think that I would love it. I would love to see San Diego CCI change their programming in so that they didn't counter program, so that you had to choose between and we just lost
we lost Mark.
Yeah, we lost Mark. So you wouldn't have to switch between choose between seeing an Interstellar and a Martian. Those two types of films where you could see those two quirky films, those two hardcore science fiction films, in the morning and in the afternoon, as opposed to having to decide between the two. Go more for a track programming versus a counter programming.
Sure.
I doubt they'll do it. They'll listen to me, but I'd love it if they were to try and explore that a little bit more.
Well, I mean, in the past they have done their best to. They're not just the It's not just the superhero movies that Comic-Con celebrate. We have had. I remember the not Let the Right One In, Let Me In, which was the American remake. That was the first time I saw any footage of that was at San Diego Comic-Con 2010. We've got horror films, animation. We've had all sorts of films, but it's just what I'm curious about is whether we are going to are we seeing the slide of the superhero movie purely because of the current landscape of Hollywood as we are, where people are starting to embrace more serious fare, as it were. I think the other thing as well which interests me is, like we're saying about other companies, when we've been talking about Hall H and indeed the Hollywood panels leading up to Comic-Cons for the last couple of years, we've been seeing less and less of those smaller genre companies coming along, such as Legendary, such as Sony not coming. So they've all been kind of like dialing back. So who is going to fill that gap? I mean, you've got A24, like Mark's been talking about there. Is there anyone else that you can think of that would also jump into those spots if we're not going to be seeing so much in terms of WB Marvel, if we're going to be seeing something else, if we're going to see a shift in what we can see? Will we see more television? Will we see Netflix finally in Hall H?
About time we saw Netflix, isn't it? I mean, they're doing 80 films this year, 80 original films. They should be there. Do you know what? Actually, who I'd like to see there a lot more, and Alyssa mentioned this just a minute ago, I'd like to see more animation there, like animated films. We don't see enough there. And you've got to remember that there are a lot of animated films this year. So why can't they bring them? I mean, heck, The Boss Baby's been nominated for an Oscar. You know, I mean, that should have been there. Maybe something like Ferdinand should have been there. You know, that would have been perfect programming in Hall H on a Sunday when it is Children's Day. You know, put an hour of animated films from Sony. Sony are churning out these animation films like nobody's business. So I think it'd be good to see more of that.
Yeah, I'm just looking at. Sorry, go carry on, Melissa. I'm looking at the Q&A. We'll see if I can pull one or two quotes from this.
It would be interesting to have Netflix to come more, especially since they're doing their straight to movie paradigm these days, which would be a really nice thing. The movie they did recently with Will Smith, which got panned by the critics, but the counter to that was that it was panned because it went against the normal distribution outlines to the theaters.
Well, I saw the first half an hour and I'd say it got panned because it was crap. But there we go. I couldn't tolerate more than half an hour of that film. It was truly awful.
But they were at San Diego this year.
They were at San Diego in a big style, and not only that, but Netflix have announced that it was their highest rated original film by a factor of 2. At the end of the day, it got people watching. For better or for worse, it got people watching. It was a bunch of big names. Marketed well. I mean, not only that, but like you say, we've got some incredible output coming from them this year, including the series that came out this week, which I still haven't had the chance to have a look at yet. To be honest, my catching up consisted of Star Trek. I've been spending this week catching up on Star Trek Discovery. I do apologize for not seeing.
I still have to do that. But it's speaking of Netflix and right. Speaking of Netflix, it seems as though that they're really kind of taking a stand in the anime, not animated, but anime genre too. They've come out with a couple of really good ones. They've got the back half of a season dropping this Friday, which and season 2 happening of a show called what was it? Fate Apocalypta. Okay, because I'm going to be able to pronounce that one.
Boy, you ran at that, didn't you?
Yes.
Nice.
And so
I agree with you, Alyssa. I've noticed that here, certainly here in the UK, they've got a lot of anime, and fair play to them for actually picking it up, because I wouldn't see it normally. It's, you know, it's something that I watched during my teens because it was on late at night here in the UK, but there's still great stuff out there. And as you said, you were interested in it. You were like, well, that's kind of up my street. I might give that a chance. Where else would we see it?
And I think, isn't a Voltron? I think I've heard that Voltron is coming out. Another season is coming up soon. You know, in the next couple 3 months.
You've got upcoming seasons: Voltron, Castlevania, Vampire Hunter. Yeah, they're all rattling through. Yeah.
And Corey Commander says Netflix Godzilla is doing an Netflix is doing an animated Godzilla.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
They are indeed. They are indeed.
Absolutely.
Let's have a look. What else? Lionsgate could possibly step into the breach. You've got John Wick 3 and Hellboy on the horizon.
Oh yeah.
If Sarita P, I quite like this one. If Fox went and greenlit Alien 5 by Neil Blomkamp, I'm sure that would draw a huge crowd. Yeah, I think that would pull one or two. I mean, I turned around and possibly suggested that I wanted to put forward for a 2001 anniversary panel, but then I also saw how many people were still alive from the. And
here's the thought.
Short of holding the first séance in Hall H, I don't think it's going to quite work.
Here's a thought. It seems as though that the films that are really making an impact in the science fiction genre are the ones that are original, coming directly from novels. You know, I mean, they're not the Avengers 3. They're not the, you know, Aliens 5, those kinds of Harry Potter.
The cookie
20.
cutter. Yeah, the franchise movies.
Right. You know, so it really is taking directly from the writing, the good writing ideas that are being generated in the fiction realm, which is, yay, bravo. We're back to writing. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Corgi Commander says, let's all say no to Hall H, finally stay for all the Funko Fun Days, or attend the Eisner Awards.
Yes,
sounds like a plan.
Leonard, we're gonna do the Eisners this year. You and I.
I'm not doing Hall H, so I'm done with that. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. We're doing it.
Okay.
We're gonna have adult beverages and do the Eisners.
Oh, you know what? I quite fancy getting shit-faced one Friday and Saturday. And I have no problem with that. Instead of doing it on the Wednesday and wake up on Thursday morning with a hangover, let's do it during the con. Yay!
Yes.
Okay. Let's see what else we've got. We can talk about. We can also talk about in terms of the this weekend. Let's talk about today. Let's talk about what we could see coming up to San Diego Comic-Con. Also, just generally into. Oh, go on, because I was going to go into Super Bowl commercials.
Yeah, absolutely. But before we get to that weekend con news, we should briefly go over this. What do you guys think about Hartrick?
Right. Okay. There was. The thing is, I read a couple of comments which Andrew Dickinson put up on Twitter, which he kind of went a little bit too far than what has actually been announced, stating that Chris Hardwick is leaving Nerdist. That's not what's happening. He's rebranding the Nerdist podcast. At the end of the day, it's not the Nerdist anymore. It is Idiot, or ID. Is it ID 10T?
Yeah.
Which is the complicated way of saying this. Apparently, if you are subscribed to Nerdist, you don't have to resubscribe. It's just a pure rebranding of that. I can kind of understand it, because at the end of the day, Lionsgate paid for Nerdist as a brand, and Nerdist as a brand now has gone far further than just the podcast. I mean, Critical Role is just immense. That all of the bits and pieces that they're doing at Nerdist, the website is doing incredibly well. They're pouring a lot of effort into the science series, which one of their editors is involved. So yeah, it's just I think it's interesting branding, but I think it's just a way for Chris Hardwick to just kind of reclaim something which he created, which is the podcast.
I'm not so sure that it's that. I mean, I saw a report on that the Hollywood Reporter wrote, and I don't know if anybody else has seen this, but it had a bunch of quotes from Chris with regards to why he did it. And the primary reason that I got from it was that he wanted to have an area where he could simply speak his mind. And he found that he couldn't, on the Nerdist channels, he couldn't speak his mind because it was owned by Sony and by Legendary, right, because it was more of a business at that, and they've done a fabulous job creating the Nerdist, but he wanted something that was more personal. So the difference, I mean, I likened it in my own life to the difference between my at Alyssa Frank's Twitter handle versus my Friends of CCI Twitter handle. It's where you can be a little bit more looser and show more of your personality and be less focused. And that was what I had gotten the difference was between why he quote unquote left the Nerdist, which is not, I agree, doesn't seem like it's the case, but I'm not sure if I said the same thing that you just did, Leonard, or not.
Possibly.
Mark. Yeah, okay.
Mark, thoughts?
I kind of agree with Alyssa. I think it's a case of that, as we see a lot of these, massive conglomerates buy in these small brands because they find it cool, and then they go, okay, we don't know what to do with it. And then the person who created this small, cool nerd brand goes, thank you for all the money. I'm just going to set up something else exactly the same and call it something else and get loads of money again that way. But one thing I did see this week on Twitter, and I have to say I was really impressed with what happened, is there is I think it's a podcast. Somebody might be able to tell me if this is wrong. Nerdist Mom was on Twitter talking about, she does this podcast or something like this, and she said, I don't know what's going to happen. Would you guys still be interested if I continue to do this, etc.? And she copied in Chris Hardwick, who had replied back to say, I think it would be perfectly fine. I don't think that the people would have a problem with it at all. And I kind of thought, that's quite nice of him. He could just quite clearly go, you know what, wash my hands with it. I don't need to talk to any of you again. And I was really impressed with that.
Nerdist Mom is Sharon. That's his mum. Basically, she was asking whether she needed to change her Twitter handle because, well, Chris Hardwick is no longer Nerdist. I personally would. I mean, everyone. She was asking whether she wanted to or she needed to change her name. I would have liked to have seen her name changed to ID10T Mom and just change the whole thing over. But her followers just turned around and said, no, it's Nerdist Mom. At which point, Chris went, you do what you feel comfortable with. So listen, her account's really good. If you get the chance, follow that account. It's actually quite funny because basically her passion is football. Follow her tonight. Oh my God, she's going to be so much fun to watch. Because she swears and everything. She's great. No, she's ace. Right, Andrew Dickinson. He has been Hardwick for 4 years. correct. Legendary, which sold to China's Dailan Wonder Group in 2016, named Joshua Grode as the new CEO late last year. Change in leadership happened simultaneously with Hardwick's contract expiration. Ah, I didn't know that. Okay, so there. Right. Deacon Sundry, yeah, this is what I thought. Corgi Commander is saying, but Deacon Sundry joined the Nerdist family, correct? And Felicia Day sold it, or am I remembering it wrong? That's, as far as I was aware, that was correct. It was a bulk deal which Lionsgate bought shortly after Geek and Sundry sold to Nerdist, or sold as part of Nerdist. So there we go. Anyway, it's all fun and games. What I think is going to be interesting is whether we'll be seeing less and less and less of Chris Hardwick at conventions as he focuses more on what was a very successful first ID10T festival last year. I think he may just concentrate on that. And
I disagree. I mean, because he obviously likes being he likes doing the Talking Dead. He likes doing that co-host, that hosting thing. So, and the biggest stage out there is Hall H. So he's going to show up for Hall H. I mean, whether or not he does the smaller things, I don't know. But yeah.
I think you're right. I mean, so long as he continues to do stuff like Talking Dead and all the after shows, as long as he continues to do them, and Matt Myra doesn't, because the after show for Star Trek Discovery is pants. He is truly awful at it, and he needs to stop. That's that. There you go. That's my hot take.
Because we speak the truth here.
Indeed. We speak the
Absolutely.
truth. We speak to truth to power via our small little window of the world.
Yes.
Corgi Commander, I want Hardwick to host FunCon, the Funko convention they keep teasing us about. That would be cool.
Would be lovely. That would be absolutely fun. Speaking of that, we have Jeff of people who are going to be at conventions. Jeff Goldblum announced that he's going to be at Silicon Valley Comic-Con. So a number of people are, getting that. There's that Funko that where he's laying down with his shirt open. So that's the big thing. So that would be fun. I would love to have Chris Hardwick.
We're hoping that we're going to be getting a live report from Silicon Valley. I know that Dan Berry is going. Hopefully, we may get a couple of words from him. And I think I'm
going.
Oh, you're going. Oh, fantastic.
I am intending to go to that one. That pretty much is pretty high. I'm not sure if I'm going to get to San Diego Comic Fest or not. I would love to. I did hear that they are going to be doing. They're going to be bringing back their On Trial series, and I'm stretching for to remember what it was, but it should be very interesting. I'm going to look that up in a moment too.
Okay. Can we talk about tonight and the Super Bowl, and more importantly, the commercials? Yay! Let's talk about the trailers, about what has been announced and what hasn't been announced. One thing that I can say that has been confirmed, that we will not be seeing anything for Deadpool 2. Apparently that's going to be held off for the release of Black Panther. So we won't be seeing anything regarding that. Dan Berry is saying that apparently in the second quarter, confirmed a 45-second spot for Solo.
No, that's on Good Morning America, isn't it? On Monday.
Apparently, there it says, right. He's typed it again. If he's typed it twice, he's bloody committed. He's committed to it. Solo 45-second spot, second quarter, is what he says. So nice. Where have you seen that, Dan? Let us know what's going on with that. Let's have a look. Scott C, third year going to Silicon Valley. Excellent stuff. Corgi Commander, is Stan Lee still scheduled to go to Silicon Valley Comic-Con? I'm not entirely sure if Stan Lee is confirmed. Yeah, really? Because I would turn around and ask whether Stan Lee is still scheduled to go to the toilet on a regular basis at this point.
Ooh.
Isn't he bound?
Have you heard the latest? I mean, last I heard he was in the hospital. Have you heard the latest on it?
We went in. He came out like 3 hours later. Okay. It was a slight heart irregularity or a murmur.
Wonderful. Back to San Diego Comic Fest. The mock trial that they're going to do this year is: do monsters have a right to justice? This stems. Well, this stems off of the 100th anniversary of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein.
Okay.
Yeah. So, well, it's an interesting question.
I thought we were just going back to the beginning of the show then and talking about Hollywood again.
Yes, I got that. That's why I clarified there. I saw where that was going. So, but Black Panther is going to have an interesting commercial. I took a look through some of the commercials that were going to be on tonight that have been pre-announced, and there is one for Black Panther, and it looks good. It ties into a car commercial, Lexus, on that one. But I have to say, the commercial that I am absolutely looking forward to is Peter Dinklage's and Morgan Freeman's Doritos ad. Doritos and Mountain Dew ad. Seriously. Okay. Yes. No. It's a 2-part commercial wrapping. This is, to my mind, this is going to be the highlight of the commercials, unless some other commercial comes out that hasn't been pre-announced.
Well, let's have a look, shall we? Because I mean, the ones that are basically assumed, because we're not going to be seeing anything for, like I say, Deadpool 2, and apparently we're not going to be seeing anything for X-Men Dark Phoenix either. So we've got Black Panther, we've got Ant-Man and the Wasp, which we've already seen, so we're going to be seeing kind of like a truncated version of that particularly boring trailer that we got this week. It was rather dull. Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, apparently we may be seeing something from that. I think the one that people are going to be talking about is going to be Mission Impossible Fallout. I think they're going to save a very large stunt from the film in much the same way that they did with Ghost Protocol, with him hanging off a plane. Yeah, I think we're going to see something from that, and Henry Cavill's funky mustache.
Oh no, they've digitally edited it out now, I'm afraid.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Yeah, no, they've done that. Yeah.
They deep faked it, did they?
Yeah, no, they really took it off. They really took it off. They really did.
Okay. Yeah. We've got Avengers Infinity War, which we may see some more beyond the trailer we've already had. Skyscraper, which is Dwayne Johnson's which is his it's his Towering Inferno.
Yeah,
there you go, a reference for the older members of the congregation there. Westworld Season 2, which I'm down with. We can have some of that, please. What else we got? Possibilities as well. I mean, I'd like to see the link to the Solo thing. Incredibles 2, we may see. We may also see some more stuff from Netflix in terms of Altered Carbon, which I know that you've not got in the States yet, have you, Alyssa?
Altered Carbon? Yeah, no, I think that dropped last week. Last week on a channel that I don't get. But I'm behind, and I haven't even seen Discovery yet, so don't even talk to me about television.
And we may also see something for Jessica Jones or the Defenders. It depends on how much money I think Netflix want to spend, considering it's an insane amount of money to advertise during the Super Bowl, which is just ridiculous. So there we go. That's what we can expect, or we would like to see. I mean, I don't know if there's anything that's on our Q&A. Wrinkle in Time, Corgi Commander says.
Oh yeah, good shout. Yeah,
that would be good. Andrew Dickinson, Tomb Raider. I'm down for this film. Am I the only one?
No,
it seems like it.
I am too, but I have to laugh at Andy going, Jeff Goldblum and his shirt open. He's like, what? What? Because he's the person that was like, it was totally laughing at me when I was saying that Get Out was a comedy. So he's the one that took me to the outhouse for that one. Okay. So. But I have to stress, really, if you don't catch the Dinklage Freeman Doritos ad, watch it. It's one of the best ads I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, so. Nothing's going to beat that. I haven't seen all the other ads. I don't care. I've seen that Dinklage Morgan Freeman one now about 10 times.
Yes, absolutely. So let's see. That's. Yeah, the only other thing, I mean, if we're going to go into Super Bowls and television and food and all of that, I know a lot of us are kind of doing the whole food thing. I'm just dovetailing in a little bit here. We'll go on this a little bit. If you're going to eat the wings and the heavy stuff, try and balance it out and load up on the veggies and all of that other stuff, because you can have a wing, just try and eat mostly vegetables and not chips. So,
don't forget the way that it's brewed and constructed, beer counts as a vegetable. So don't forget that.
Right,
as well.
Wheat. Right. Yeah. Okay. What was I thinking? So vodka is where in the scheme of things? It's
a carb. It's a carb. It's a potato.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. Yes, as Sarita P says, yes, the Super Bowl is for pigging out. I agree, and I understand. Just you don't have to go totally overboard on it. I'm just saying. That's all I'm saying there about that one. The other thing to talk about is at the end of the week, before we come back on Friday night, we're going to get the Olympics opening ceremonies. We're going to go from one extreme of sports, professional, high paying, to the total other extreme of sports. They're going to start off with the twirly blades, otherwise known as figure skating, men's figure skating.
Twirly blades.
Well, I used to do it quite a bit. So, and two boards.
I am calling it twirly blades from here on in.
Absolutely, do it. And two board skiing, not snowboarding. They're going to start that off like on Thursday, but opening ceremonies, which should be interesting. It's from South Korea, so it could be an interesting opening ceremony thing on Friday night, just to keep a heads up on. NBC is probably going to be really wacky with all of their schedules. So like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I think, is on hiatus till the end of the Olympics. If there's any of your shows are on that channel, just be aware that it's going to be a little off. And Aaron, corn is not a vegetable. Hey, I'm just saying that. I'm responding.
Listen, we've got one or two people who are saying, does a chip stacked with guacamole and salsa count as a vegetable? I would say that that's probably not the case.
No, guacamole, avocados are not a vegetable.
Yeah. Although I do quite like Leanne D's comment as well. What is this Super Bowl? Go nerd!
Yes.
It's I can tell you what it is. It's American rugby.
There you go. With more padding.
With more padding, it's
more stops.
It's for the Americans, and they basically throw like an egg around. That's about it. So, yeah.
Leanne, very quickly, just to interrupt, Leanne, happy birthday to you, love.
Happy birthday.
Have a great day.
Absolutely.
There you go.
Absolutely. And we can't forget tight pants. You know, that's if you
Sorry,
like
what are we talking about now?
if you like twirly blades, then we got to talk about tight pants in football. You know,
I'm so taking this off YouTube and sticking this as a gift.
Well, you know, there you go. So it kind of, you know, it goes on my weekend television that I kind of, they let me do the first draft for the weekly article this weekend, next week in television. And I came up with a couple of those lovely things. I also want to mention that Channel Zero is coming back this week for season 2 on the Sci-Fi Channel. A lot of people really like that one as being just kind of out there. So.
Okay.
I have a question. Sorry, Elena, just to interrupt. I just have a question for Alyssa quickly. Alyssa, can you let me know which events are the ones with the tight pants? I just need to write them down for a friend. That's all.
Tonight, the Super Bowl.
Right. Okay. None at the Olympics?
I'm certain there are 1 or 2.
I'll just have to check it out. I'll just have to watch it all, I guess, and then
if you go to friendsofcomiccon.com/tight pants, I believe there's going to be a sub forum for this where all the elements for tight pants during the Olympics and Super Bowl are going to be available. So do check that out.
Oh, yes.
You're gonna have to write that URL now.
You know, I could go so many different places with it. I need somebody else to help me to work with me on this one. Mark, you're absolutely. You want to work with me on this one? I love collaborators.
You have been roped in on this one. It's all yours.
Yes, totally.
I mean, I can make a few notes, but I don't know how quickly I'll get those notes over to you. That's
right. Okay. It could, you know, you could be in charge of the girl tight pants and I'll be in charge of the boy tight pants. How about that?
Can I go with a puppy bowl? Can I just go with a puppy bowl and just get out of this completely? Okay.
So
right.
That is the one thing. No, that is the one thing that my son wants me to record today is puppy bowl. This is an 18-year-old boy that is into skinny jeans and you know, is going to be lucky if he graduates from school and he wants to watch the puppy bowl.
Oh, good Lord.
Okay.
Right. Let's get this back on track, for God's sake. Another thing that I wanted to talk about very quickly, and I wanted to actually talk this about when we were talking about Hall H and Comic-Con and films that could be coming to Comic-Con. Valiant, who is the 3rd largest superhero comic book publisher after Marvel and DC, has in fact been bought by DMG Entertainment, which is a production company which have worked on films such as Iron Man 3, Looper, the Point Break remake, and last year's Father Figures. Father Figures, yeah. DMG also had a 57% stake in the actual comic books as well, so they have now effectively just bought out the company outright. Now, this could be cool, if anything, because of what Valiant actually has under their belt in terms of Exo Man of War, Quantum and Woody, Ninjak, Secret Weapons. All of these, by the way, are in pre-production for either television or film. You've also got the Russo brothers reportedly making a TV version of Quantum and Woody. You've got some amazing possibilities there. But what I'm interested in, the fact is that these are not known at all by the wider world. You go out onto the street, you could mention any title by Valiant and no one would know what the hell you were talking about. So in other words, this could be literally fresh blood. This is, you could turn around and market these films, but and say that they are not based on any previous existing IPs. You could just literally just unleash these products out to people because there's no frame of reference. I think the only one that's really kind of made any traction is maybe Faith.
Quantum and Woody. I mean, I've heard about. done, but they were around also, as was Bloodshot, and they were around back in the 90s when Valiant, the first rendition of Valiant. But this goes back to what I was saying. It's about writing, and it's about writers, and to have this production company come in and buy all of this canon for all of these ideas, that's brilliant. I love it. I absolutely love it. I am really looking forward to that. This would be the kind of thing that I would really want to see at San Diego Comic-Con. This is the panel. You know,
hang that in the center of a Saturday, in between DCWB and Marvel at the other end. You have Valiant in the center. Damn it! No, that would be huge.
Well, no, or 6BCF. I mean, this would be huge in 6BCF. Or, you know, in Ballroom 20. No, I mean, not Ballroom 20. I don't know. Well, anyway, but
no, Ballroom 20 is getting the X-Men. That's it.
But this would be great in 6BCF to, you know, to put out, especially for some of the smaller, the TV shows and the, you know, this kind of thing, to get the hype going on these, because I mean, I would love a Faith. That would be absolutely wonderful. Quantum and Woody. And these are accessible characters. These are not, you know, they're not your Superman. They're not, you know, these are real people. So
yeah. You know what? You saying that, Leonard, about go to the person in the street and ask them if they know that, and they probably won't. Well, we've had that. We have that quite a lot with a lot of films that people don't know are comic books. Atomic Blonde did really well. Snowpiercer did really well. You know, it's now a TV show. So we get these. I think the factor is they're just putting them out as films. And then when the film hits, they go, oh, by the way, you can read the comic. You know, it's not the other way where read the comic first before going to see the film.
Go on, Alyssa. You looked frustrated there.
Oh, well, I first went through the fact that Snowpiercer's showrunner, who marketed and brought it to the production company, was let go. So, which is just particularly frustrating for me. Mark may know more about that. But the second thing was Happy. I mean, on the Sci-Fi Channel. So.
Yeah. True.
Moving on.
Sorry, yeah, I'm just jumping on a comment which I'm going to have to look into. Dan Berry, Faith actually made her comic book debut in the 1990s. Jim Shooter created her way back when. I thought she was a pretty brand new character. Okay, so that's something new to me. Okay, fair enough. I wish they'd cast Jason David Frank for the Bloodshot movie. He's great as that character. That's super catchic. Although the as far as I'm aware, the casting that I've heard so far is Vin Diesel attached to Bloodshot and Dave Bautista attached to Eternal Warrior. So we'll see how it goes. Then, of course, we could also look at Mr. Mark Miller and his output as well. So we could be seeing also, you know, Jupiter's Legacy being produced. But Mark might be the best person to speak to here. Is it original stuff, or is it stuff that's based on previous Miller World properties? I can't remember what the deal is.
My understanding is that it is basically anything that has not already been signed. Now, obviously, I believe Mark Miller, once his comic is out, he sells it straight away. Obviously, that's what he told us previously. So Jupiter's Legacy, if it has not already been bought, we don't know, then that could be it. But obviously, I remember when it first came out, he was really pushing to get Channing Tatum in the role. So it makes me think that maybe it was already sold.
Fair enough. Okay, just to confirm, in terms of what we were talking earlier as well about the solo spot, apparently this is come from the Twitter account Making Star Wars, who's usually quite reliable for stuff like this. The spot will be 45 seconds long, and apparently it's going to be nestled between the Toyota. This is the running order: Toyota, Sprint, Nextel, solo Star Wars story, Turkish Airlines, and then a promo Lost in the Music. Oh, who knows? So it's basically, once you see the Toyota advert, get your DVR up and running. So, get yourself ready for that. But yeah, in the second quarter apparently. So there we go. Right. Anything else that we can call on in terms of I think Weekend TV. We've done Black Lightning. Has anybody watched this yet?
Yes.
Oh,
I saw the second one. Yes, I saw the second one. No, my co-writers for the Next Week in TV really like this show. I saw the second one. It is unlike any other WB show. Okay, it's real. And I only have seen one episode of it. The second episode, I didn't see the first one. I haven't seen the last one yet, behind and everything. But I liked it. It's something that I'm going to continue watching. It felt real. So just hats off to Black Lightning. So that's.
Can I just say, I'm really looking forward to it. The reason why, and I might mute my thing here in a moment so you don't actually hear me say this, is that I really liked Cress Williams in Heart of Dixie.
Nestled next to my bed, because the missus owns it, is the Heart of Dixie box set.
Yay! It's good.
I'm lost. I am completely lost.
Admittedly, it sat on top of the 3-disc box set of Terry Gilliam's Brazil. That's it balances out. Caroline gets that, and underneath is mine.
Yes, I'm Brazil. So. I would look. I got to do a rewatch of Brazil and Dune. Those are the two ones that I'm like, And I was even thinking that I should do another Lord of the Rings. I got to rewatch the Lord of the Rings series too.
Well, so long as you just stop at the Hobbit, you're good.
Oh yeah, no, I was skipping the Hobbit. That was
there you go.
That was,
right,
that was,
cool. Right, Corgi Commander. I'm behind on all of my WB. Going to binge later. Andy Bayback, watch the show. Watch Black Lightning. It's good. It's good. It's good. Yeah,
it's good.
Sarita P. Talking about comics. Yay! Anyone excited about Brian Michael Bendis doing Superman comics? Yes. As long as they don't stretch him too thin, because they did this at Marvel, and they stretched him. If they just put him on a book and leave him there, yes, it'll work. I mean, the test pages we've seen so far from various artists look amazing. I'm down with it, but just lock his focus down, because otherwise he'll just go all over the place and he gets lost. So there we go. Anything else? Go on, Alyssa.
Oh no, I was just going to say, because people have a hard time focusing these days. Staying focused on one topic, and like this show, we've been bouncing all over the place.
We have indeed.
Where I was trying to go with that. Cool. I think that's all for me. I had mentioned just the Channel Zero last shows of The Librarian, and Supergirl takes its winter break. Speaking about winter break, speaking about the WB, and that's it. What's on our agenda for next week? Do we have a clue yet? Probably not until next Saturday morning.
Possibly. Yeah, we considering that I had 4 guests lined up for today to come on to talk about Capital Con, and also talk about True Believers, and all 4 of them blobbed on us. I'm trying to get guests involved, and the only way that I can do it is to actually let them know that we're here. So if you're watching this, and if there's somebody that you want to see on the show, tweet them, ask them, let them know that we exist. Let's see if we can get some bodies on.
Have you reached out to Matt from Comic Fest yet?
I've sent him an email. Nothing back yet. But then again, I'm trying to work out if my email's working, because we are now, as Mark is fully aware. Yes, let's dive into this one, shall we?
Oh, we haven't got time.
No, it's okay. It doesn't take long, because there's not a great deal to say.
That's true.
We're at week 19 since I applied for San Diego Comic-Con Press. By the way, I'm not kind of saying this as some kind of bleeding heart thing here. There are a number of other people as well. Michael P for another, the other people that have applied. Week 19. We haven't heard a damn thing. No reply to the emails. San Diego Comic-Con seems to have gone from being utterly on the ball before Christmas to kind of not. They're reverting to type, as it were. But I don't want to slag them off. But yeah,
let's do it. Let's do it.
No.
Their mother's smell of elderberries.
And I was going to go into the whole speech. Then you nearly set me off, man. You nearly set me off on a whole speech quoting Python. I can do cheese shop if you want. I can do cheese shop.
I will say I'm gonna move on there. Yeah. That skip the Febreze commercial tonight. It's about stinky. Yeah, bathroom stuff, bathroom humor. Okay. So yeah, just with regards to Super Bowl commercials. Yeah, absolutely. And then I forgot what I was going to say. I'm sorry.
Breaking news: Mark Searby is now barred for life from CCI events. Apparently, so this is what happens when you start, calling them stinky. Anyway, right? Dan Berry. Apparently, we should get Matt Dunford on the show. Yes, we should. We will get him on because he's a top giggle. Andy Bayback. I want to see that Andy Bayback fellow on the show. If anyone can reach out to him, we'll have words. Obviously, we'll connect. We'll connect. So there we go.
With regards to CCI, and their delay in notifying people, I have to think that it's what they've done is they've gotten all of this stuff out of the way first, the pre-reg, the reg, all of that, and now that they've got a little bit of breathing room. I don't think we're going to see hotels until April, and we've talked about this before. Really? I don't think we're going to.
Because because it was what I was going to use as one of my wrap-up things. I'm thinking that we could be seeing Hotel Apocalypse within the next 2 weeks.
That is decidedly not my. I would not put money on that one at all.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm not a betting person. I don't bet at all. But I don't think that's going to happen. So I think that what they've done is they've given themselves room to deal with this whole press thing, and primarily probably because they've got such a small office. I mean, I venture to say they've got 1/10 of the employees a 16th, a 20th of the amount of employees as Repop does. So I can imagine that they're going from pre-reg to reg to press to volunteers, and these are all the same kind of group of people who are doing the daily office work. So it very well could be that they just haven't. You guys, press just hasn't surfaced yet to the top of the pile.
At the end of the day, also you've also got WonderCon as well, which they're dealing with. So
yeah. So, I mean, they're a small organization, CCI is, despite the fact that they make big waves.
Yeah.
So.
Fair enough. Okay. I think we can wrap the show up then and say thank you very much indeed to everybody for watching. And again, as always, to make this show prettier and more concise and more educational, I'd like to thank Mark Searby for joining us. The man, the myth, the legend that is Mark Searby, the complete and utter cult that he is. Can I say thank you? Where can people find you online? And can we have a look at that poster behind you?
Yes. And yes, I'm on Twitter, Mark_Searby, my website, marksearby.com. I'm also on Amazon. If you type my name in, you'll find my book. There it is. It's $3.99 on all ebook devices. If you want a physical copy, which I don't have with me, for some reason. If you want a £700 physical copy, they're on eBay. And just also one other point, if you are in the UK or in Europe, the end of this month, there is a DVD coming out called The Three Faces of Eve. It's an Oscar-winning DVD, and I am one of the special features on there. You won't see me, thank goodness. You will just hear me.
The one thing that we always market you when we say that we're inviting you onto the show is that you are a special feature. So thank you very much indeed for that. Excellent stuff. Of course, you can be found on Facebook as moving on. So thank you very much indeed, Mark. Alyssa, where...
to quote Corgi Commander, hashtag tight pants.
I'll go. Oh yeah, if that's wants to be.
We are calling him Captain Tight Pants from here on in.
I'll take that.
Okay. Special featured Searby. Excellent.
Yes.
So where can people find you, Alyssa?
At Friends of CCI for my business, more bloggy, forum, all of that sort of stuff. And you can find me for my personal at Alyssa Franks. That's more can venture into politics, I'll warn you. But for the blog and the forum, if you've got any questions about anything, this is primarily for people who are watching this back, because all of our live chat people, of course, know everything there is already to know about cons and con culture. You go on the forum and ask questions.
Excellent stuff. For myself, you can find me on most of the social medias at Englishman SDCC, and of course you can follow along with what we get up to on the website and EnglishmanInSanDiego.com. And of course we appreciate all of your support by heading to patreon.com/Englishman SDCC, which is where where everyone who supports me got to see the Chris Claremont interview, or heard the Chris Claremont interview first from last week. I had a great time speaking to the legendary writer of X-Men as part of his documentary, which I believe is available as of now or tomorrow morning on some of the streaming sites. I think it's available on iTunes and Netflix and wherever. Have a look around for Chris Claremont's X-Men. Great documentary. It really is worthwhile checking that out. Right. Thank you very much indeed for watching. If you are heading off now to your Super Bowl celebrations, I hope either the Lakers or the Celtics win. Congratulations to whoever wins for that. But for us, the winners are those who get to see some proper, decent nerd trailers. So let's go for that. Thank you very much indeed. Take care and enjoy the rest of your Sunday. From us to you. We'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.